we make everything more efficient, which is nice, but then it just allows us to fill our plate with more stuff, and we're so efficient at everything that we're just constantly overloading our plates.
Welcome to All Over the Place, a rounded third production with your hosts, Eric Korvosnik, Jim Culver, Marty Zamora, and Kathy Rankin.
Hey guys, PK Splat from Chaos. I'm here, and this is All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I am your host, Eric Korvosnik. As always, folks, thanking you for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Everyone, thank you so much for helping us grow every week doing just those things. We appreciate that greatly. Thank you so much for that. Also, quickly want to send a shout out to all of our social media sponsors. That, of course, would be Mr. Danny Zalesko. Make sure you're checking out all your concert needs at dzpresentslive.com. And that you also want to make sure you have the /events in there as well. Also, when you're in Scottsdale, Arizona, make sure you're going over to Vinyl Record Dude there on Scottsdale and Shea. And if you're not in Arizona, you can always shop there still at vinylrecorddude.com. Also, wherever you are in the world, you want to make sure you go over to drumtalktvbrilliance.com and make sure you sign up as a subscriber there, and you'll get all of Dan Schinder and his team's awesome content, interviews, concerts, everything. Check that out. Also, I want to make sure you're keeping up to speed with our friend and co-host, Kathy Rankin, and she's at Instagram, of course, and her handle there is Rush Fanatic. Make sure you're keeping up to speed with all things Kathy. And speaking of Kathy, who we got to know via the Chipster PR team, we have another Chipster guest with us today, and he's got a new single out, and it's called Downsider, and you want to make sure you're checking that out on Spotify. And I want to welcome to the show, I want to get the appropriate introduction here. I want to welcome Mr. Brett Ditgen. Brett, welcome to All Over the Place.
Thanks for having me.
And with the right amount of applause there. So, yeah, and I mentioned you're a Chipster on the Chipster roster, and you've got a sound I'm digging. It's got a little bit of Tool. It's got a little bit of Ghost. Talk to us about creating music and, taking not just from those sounds, but what influences you and then creating your own sound.
I'm definitely a fan of all kinds of styles, as well as, Derek is also the guitar player. So there's a huge, lifetime of different variables there. But I would say like influentially, if I can speak.
Make up words here. We go with fun sanity all the time. So make things up. It's all good.
I would consider myself definitely a child of the 80s, but a teen of the 90s. So heavily influenced by the grunge era and just a lot of the general hard rock. But I would, Stone Temple Pilots and Chains would be some of the top bands that, I honestly probably don't even listen to those that much anymore these days because I've just pounded them throughout my lifetime. But they still tend to shine through in what I'm making. And then, there's obviously different influences that come here and there throughout the years. And I listen to a lot of different stuff nowadays than maybe I used to. But I think as far as songwriting and rock music, I still seem to live kind of in that straight rock 90s kind of vibe. And I know that Derek, I think, has maybe some more progressive type feels that he wants to input into the music. But from a vocal standpoint, I live where I've always lived.
You got your pocket, you stick with it. So what would be the one album in your collection that would most surprise people outside of those genres?
There would be a lot.
I've got a Captain and Tennille record behind me, so don't be embarrassed about whatever you got to say.
I could go as far as saying like Rachmaninoff. Like I have Rachmaninoff records. which is a classical pianist. But I'm all over the board, really, with styles. And I mean, I grew up I started singing in like choral music and choirs, and sang all the way through through college. So I lived in that realm as well, and appreciate a lot of different types of music. So that would be one that's way outlier compared to what probably people would think that I might listen to, I guess.
I like that. Now, a lot of our guests have had their start in choirs, things like that. When did you have the realization that A, I want to be a rock singer, and B, when you just dove in and said, this is going to be my career?
Well, rock singer would be the teen years. Once I kind of began, I bought my first guitar at 16. I taught myself how to play guitar by watching Nirvana Unplugged. And playing along with Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream, and all those that realm of records was what probably like the Stone Temple Pilots' Purple album. Was also really into Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and the Doors around those years. That would be when probably the rock music started appearing as like something that I wanted to do. Like I had friends that were in bands in high school, and I was always kind of jealous about it, but I never had that opportunity or got in on it. I was singing from an early age, though. I remember being little, just playing with toys, singing along with like 80s pop radio and stuff. But I didn't actually join my first rock band until I was 21. And that's when it really became, something real, because I started actually, creating melodies and writing lyrics. And that was the beginning of that era. And I would say around that time, I was probably really heavy into Tool, really heavy into the Doors, and then also still really heavy into a lot of the actual like late 90s type of stuff. Like I could throw some like Dishwalla was like a fan that I really loved. That guy's voice. Toad the Wet Sprocket. Just all kinds of different bands at that time, but
Little Vertical Horizon in there maybe too.
oh yeah, I mean that whole era was like fun music. But then I also started getting into the heavier stuff like Mudvayne, and I remember when like Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman came out. That was a tune that I really loved. Union Underground was the band, but started getting a little bit heavier in like right around when I started joining the rock band and stuff. So that kind of formulated.
So you definitely weren't walking around in the 80s singing along to Katrina in the Waves with Walking on Sunshine.
I mean, I like that song.
I guess it's always good to go a 180. You never know. Just one begets the other, but just in a different kind of influence. But
yeah,
yes,
I mean,
a good pop song. Good pop is good
Phil,
pop.
like Phil Collins. I love Phil Collins. Like all that 80s stuff, I love it. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the trajectory of me, like moving through phases of singing and when things started, and once it actually became clear that was something that I could maybe do.
And of course, you mentioned the Doors and Tool. And as a lyricist, I mean, I'm hearing the musical influences, but as a lyricist, that's again going the opposite of Walking on Sunshine. But the Doors, especially, and of course, Tool, a little bit more of a darker themes. I mean, how much did that seep into you, where that just became a focus for you as a writer?
In those years, probably too much. I really identified with the darker side of things, almost to the point where I think I believed that you had to be that way in order to like write good music. And I mean, almost all of my idols are dead now.
I smell a song coming from that.
They're all really troubled, and that was an era where I kind of latched on to all that. But yeah, Stone Temple Pilots, Tool, Pink Floyd, those type of lyrical types of bands that had some seriousness to it, but some poetic, some poetic elements and some seriousness. Um, those were what I was kind of drawn to, as far as like lyrics and things like that.
Well, that's what I like about A Heavy Quiet, and of course, it's the blues is about making someone think that you've got it worse off than they do, and helping them cope with whatever they're going through. But I like you guys. Your blues with distortion, reverb, and so what's the audience reaction been like? People coming up to you and saying, "Hey, your lyrics meant a lot to me," and maybe help them get through some tough times.
I mean, over the years, that's been a huge part of connection with fans. I was in a band previously for a career. That was like 15 years ago. That just kind of didn't pan out, but I still have some fan base within that realm where there's kind of some equity in my voice that has stuck with people, and a lot of those listeners are still around. This is the first this band when we put out a song in September, and we're moving pretty slowly. I mean, this is not a full-time gig for us, so we've only put out a couple songs, but the response from those types of listeners has been pretty big, and people that haven't heard my voice in a long time. But lyrically, this one's I like the lyrics to this one. The concept was Derek, the guitar player. He came up with the theme of the song, and just about how technology's kind of just running haywire and kind of taking over the planet in a number of ways that are maybe can be detrimental. So we ran with it, and I think we kind of landed on something that's relatable for everybody, with how technology can have some pretty adverse effects on the way we're all living.
Interacting, or more importantly, not interacting.
Correct.
And you guys are a global phenomenon. Of course, you're, you got China, Kansas City, Missouri, and the Netherlands. What's that like for you in the creation of music process?
Well, it's totally different than what I've previously been exposed to, which is like 5 guys in the same room where you can bounce ideas off instantaneously, which moves a lot quicker. But you also have more time for opposition and things of that nature within those environments. So this is very smooth. It's smoother than I had expected. Where he comes up with he's kind of just a he just comes up with unlimited like riff ideas and song ideas, and sends them whether or not they're in any sort of structure or anything. He sends stuff over, and then I'll find something that I latch onto, and he spends time doing what he's doing. He sends it to me, and then I have all the time in the world to play around with things and maybe put some structures together. I do a lot of copying and pasting for the purposes of demoing, just trying to get workable structures and arrangements, and then we'll go back and fine tune them. But it kind of allows you to work within your own parameters and ideas for a time period, and then you send them back. And so you're not getting immediate feedback, you're not getting immediate rejection, but you're also, you're not getting immediate affirmation either. But it gives you more time to kind of put some of those things together. It does make it a little bit more difficult once you start trying to get some transitions and things that need to be talked about, where it'd be really nice if you were in the same room. But so there's a lot of times where I'm recording audio messages to him where it's like, can we think about drums like doom da doom da, like you're like basically just making sounds of kick drums and snare drums, trying to get ideas across, and it's not as easy across the globe like that as it is in the same room. But it's gone well. I mean, we've put out 2 songs that I feel pretty good about how they turn out. They stand up to the caliber of music that I would want to put out and feel proud. So it's gone well.
Well, rockers have been known for having strange hours. Are you three creators, you, Derek, and John Simons does the drums and the mixing and the mastering? Are you guys ever able to get together at the same time?
Me and Derek catch up on like audio calls, but we're basically all, I think, like 8 hours off. Like I think I'm 8 hours off of Amsterdam, and Amsterdam's 8 hours off of Hong Kong, which puts me like 14 hours off of Hong Kong. So when I think he wakes up and it's about 6 p.m. here. Yeah, my daytime is those guys are generally sleeping. So it's we have to be pretty specific about how we can connect other than text message.
So do you ever get the itch to just go out there and want to play these songs live just for anybody outside of with the guys you created it with?
Oh, I would love to do that. I really enjoyed the live performance element, and I loved playing shows and touring. That's just going to be really difficult at this juncture for this group. And one thing about performing live, at least for me and my former project, which was is a very high priority to have the highest caliber performances that you could create, being well rehearsed and in good shape to perform at a high level, and that would be difficult to do, as well as financially. It's just really difficult to tour when everybody's. I mean, I'm a family man and a full-time firefighter, and I run side businesses, and I stay real busy, and music is kind of become a scratch the itch kind of thing to keep the soul in line and in connection with all of that, which probably makes it a little bit less stressful to do. But yeah, in the end, it sure would be awesome to actually play some shows, because getting in front of fans and crowds was always one of my favorite things.
Quickly do the firefighter thing. Thank you so much for that. That is totally kick-ass. Thank you. Very essential thing. And
I appreciate it.
And you need the rock and roll to kind of calm your nerves a little bit.
Yeah, or just to get the energy out. Yeah. I would say for me, like I did love the performance, and I will always love the performance, but I've grown to really, and I've had a lot of great experiences in studio work, and I've just really grown to love the songwriting process and the recording process, and that to me is fulfilling enough. And then just to be able to, it's so easy to put everything out to get listened to, just to be able to put music out is a reward of that. But the process of making songs that's really what's the exciting part. Playing shows would be fun, but that songwriting element's what's really fulfilling, all the kind of those original loves of music and such.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, you mentioned like adding those fills or just trying to let Derek know where you're coming from. Do you ever come up with the ideas that you then want come up with the lyrics that you want him? You do the lyrics first, and then you have him want to match the music to it.
I really don't ever do lyrics first. For some reason, I have never been. I'll have like concepts and different things that might exist or sit, but as far as lyrical writing, I'm a real like searcher for melodies and vowel sounds and consonants and like how things flow sonically. And then there might be some themes and words that get intentionally implemented, but a lot of stuff is like stumbling across I guess the idea of lightning in a bottle. I mean, I can sit there and have partial lyrics and sing on a song for months, and then I finally sit down in front of the computer and with my mic and spend a couple hours trying to track, and then all of a sudden it just all falls out, and everything gets completed in one shot. So it's kind of a lightning in a bottle thing about when and how that stuff decides to, kind of flow out and get put in place.
I get it. I sit on lyric, and I'm very, very, very amateur. But I'll sit on couplets for sometimes years, and then try and piece them and stitch them together with something else. And yeah, it like I said, the lightning in a bottle. Hit you when it hits you.
Yeah.
Connect them when you connect them. And you brought up Crosby, Stills, and Nash earlier, and the folk element of its influence on rock and roll. What I like about A Heavy Quiet, part of your guys' mission is to kind of be a societal difference maker and inspire people with your lyrics. And is that, do you think, part of the influence coming from Crosby, Stills, and Nash?
I don't know if that's directly influenced by that, but it certainly could subconsciously be, a part of that pathway, for sure, because there was definitely a lot of that in, those earlier eras of music where, the concepts were, very societal, and I guess their intentions to, get their thoughts and their ideas out. But I actually think that Crosby, Stills, Nash, and then my favorite album by them is 4-Way Street. It's a live album. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. It's like a double album. But my pull for them was harmonies. I've been huge on harmonies most of my life, so there's a lot of 3-part harmonies and stuff that I implement. Alice in Chains was one that, their harmonies were always very unique, and I was drawn to those harmonies. But just always had a kind of affinity for throwing a lot of harmonies in there for different sounds, and fuller resonance of vocals, and kind of allows you to move things through songs and gives you more options.
Jerry and Lane, definitely a vocal combination that is otherworldly, no doubt.
Correct, yeah.
Let's talk specifically and get into Downsider, the single that came out earlier this year. And so Derek came up with the concept on that one, just seeing people just staring at their phones constantly. And so talk to us about, the lyrical inspiration that he brought to it, and then your contribution.
Yeah, he had kind of that overloaded, addiction-like kind of everybody's emotionally and, just kind of overloaded with all the technology, just kind of it's kind of like a machine, going out of control. I think with me, it's a topic that comes up frequently, the social media and how that's affected things, and how it's, created a lot of, negative elements of, interaction with people, but not only that, like self-image and, mental health, of just how, the like button, like how important those, like what it does to your psyche to end up needing that attention, and how it affects the psychological element. But one of the things that I've always said, in recent years in multiple conversations, which is a huge premise for the song, and I think it's both pre-choruses going into the choruses, which is, yeah, of course, now that I'm thinking of it, I can't track the lyrics, but I think it's the first one's we are so efficient now, but what's the, freaking difference now?
Yeah.
So, technology, we are so, I used the word furious in the beginning, this furious pursuit of intelligence, or, technology. It's this frantic pursuit to find technology for everything, to make everything easier and more accessible. And in doing all that, we make everything more efficient, which is nice, but then it just allows us to fill our plate with more stuff, and we're so efficient at everything that we're just constantly overloading our plates. And so it's almost like our efficiency is becoming a detriment, because it's causing overload and addiction, and just too many tabs open, you know. So it's kind of a weird paradox where the efficiency is actually almost causing a more chaotic lifestyle than it did before. I mean, like, if you think about before we had cell phones, like landlines, like you couldn't text somebody. You had to leave a voicemail and then wait like 3 or 4 hours to hear back from them. You couldn't get that instant communication. So now that we have the phones and we can just rapidly communicate with people nonstop throughout the day, our workload is increased because the communication is so much faster. So the efficiency is almost creating the chaos.
A line we heard from Sting way back when, I think it was, oh, I know it was Ghost in the Machine. Too much information running through our brains, too much information driving me insane.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, too much information is a phrase that I've used frequently in some other contexts.
Getting back to the firefighter thing, the guys know you do band stuff, right? Do they ever ask you to just give them an impromptu rock show?
They may tease me a little bit, but not really. I think a lot of them. I mean, everybody knows where I came from. That was actually kind of a hurdle to get over when I was trying to get hired, because you know that lifestyle comes with connotations of things that aren't necessarily positive a lot of the time. So,
yeah.
But everybody knows nowadays. I've been there for 10 years now, so everybody's in the know, and everybody knows I'm doing new stuff. And there's a lot of people at the department, so I don't interact with everybody, but the people that I do, I mean, they're all supportive, and there's people that listen to it regularly in their playlists and stuff like that. And
that's cool.
But it's not anything that I go out of my way to make a big deal of. And obviously I kind of promote it when there's something like this where I'm, kind of proud to let people know. The people that I know that'll appreciate it, I'll, kind of share it with them. But everything else I just kind of let flow through on its own, however it will.
Well, I'm always trying to get shows together. It's one of the glue type things I like to do. So you're the guy in the middle in a heavy quiet. So I mean, let's bring China over to you. Let's bring the Netherlands to you. And have a benefit show for the fire department.
Yeah, I don't know if that would benefit a lot of people, because I don't think we could bring enough people.
I try. I do my best. I do what I can. And folks, I want to remind everyone that you're on All Over the Place, and we have Brett Ditgen with us from A Heavy Quiet, and they've got their new single out, Downsider. Make sure you're checking that out on Spotify. Also head over to aheavyquiet.com to get a little bit more about the band. And you mentioned paradoxes earlier. A Heavy Quiet. Where'd you guys come up with the name that kind of has the thoughts of jumbo shrimp and military intelligence mixed in there? A Heavy Quiet. Hit me.
That was Derek's title, and I keep forgetting that I need to ask him about it, because this comes up in all the interviews, and I haven't connected with him to ask him what his preferred explanation of the name is. But in what we've in talking, as everything's developed, I think for him the name is more reflective of the sonic qualities of the dynamics within just songwriting, wanting to have variation of, heavy and soft and loud and quiet, and just having sonic dynamics within the music. One band that I really think did a great job with that concept, if you needed an example or wanted to check something out, would be Smashing Pumpkins. Growing up with like Gish and Siamese Dream, like that was one group that like I really thought really mastered the element of just extreme bipolar dynamics. there's many others, but that one's always stuck with me as an example. But just kind of having that yin and yang, the tug of, kind of the tug and pull of different variations that kind of arise different reactions and catch attention in different ways. For me, I actually like the emotional element of the concept of a heavy quiet, which is silence can be really heavy in certain situations in communication. So that sense for me, I think, kind of resonates from a kind of psychological, emotional element.
Well, we've got the heavy, obviously, with Downs there, the music, the lyrics, and going on the quiet end of things, getting into that things that could be a little bit heavier in a sense. Do you have any suggestions as what we can do as a society to maybe unplug a little bit more and get real away from the technology?
Man, that's a good question. Because I know that there's a lot of stuff as there's no turning back, but I think trying to find, as I've grown older, I've gotten into a lot more, I'm more physical focused as I'm one of the older guys on my department now. So trying to keep up with younger guys and trying to spend time doing activities that are, healthy for the soul, and, keeping up with hobbies and things that you love. And, I love going to the mountains and doing snowboarding and things of that nature, just staying connected with a lot of those things. But at the same time, it's disconnecting with social media so that you don't get consumed by what everyone else is doing or everything that's going on. Just trying to have some boundaries for it in order to give yourself space from things, to have at least some of that simple organic kind of peace. If you can stay connected with some of that stuff, I don't really foresee us going backwards in many ways with, technology. There's things that we just depend on things too much and use things too much, and so it's really hard to think about eliminating a lot of things. But we gotta have our own personal boundaries if you want to try to stay sane, I think.
Everything in moderation. That's something I've tried to live by in life, and other things to extremes.
It's a hard thing to do in this day and age because there's just too much of everything right there at your fingertips, all over the place, all the time. And I think mental health is at a huge, I don't know, the last 10 years, I think mental health combined with technology is like crossing paths that is doing, it's putting the human race in some pretty crazy places.
Well, I liked all the suggestions you had earlier. Folks, check those out. Get outside. Wind therapy if you ride a motorcycle like our buddy Marty. Go up in the mountains. Just find a hobby. Fly a kite. There's an old-fashioned concept.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go back to a rotary phone with no answering machine, but, something close to that.
Right.
And yes, I'm old enough to remember where we didn't have to leave a message. We couldn't leave a message. They're home, you're home. Whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, well, Brett,
how people got connected.
All about connection. That's what it all comes back to. And Brett, now we have reached the portion of the show now where we do a little thing called Make Up Your Mind, Dude. And it's a this or that. And whatever comes to mind for you, don't just let it flow, stream of consciousness. And I'm going to start it out easy, at least for rock and roll people. This should be an easy one, but I want to go with, going to get into an AC/DC mode here.
Make up your mind, dude.
Bon Scott or Brian Johnson?
Brian Johnson.
Soundgarden or Pearl Jam?
Soundgarden.
In the studio or up on stage?
That's going to go against what I just said, but up on stage there's more adrenaline.
Adrenaline. Yes. Yes. Wolfman or the Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Wolfman.
Acoustic or electric guitar?
Acoustic.
Stone Temple Pilots or Alice in Chains?
I'm going with the Pilots.
Pilots just made my recent greatest 3-album stretch. And I went with Purple, Tiny Music, and Number 4. So I like, again, there are no wrong answers on here because I could just as easily break out Dirt and Self-Titled and the EPs. So yes. No
Yeah,
wrong.
I would probably go Purple, 4, and Shangri-La-Di-Da.
See, I did want to say, but we were only going 3 album, like consecutive 3
Oh,
albums.
consecutives. Okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
consecutive. So
Yeah, they were good at a lot of departure from their previous sounds.
that's what I talked
in
about.
all of their albums.
And once you got to Tiny Music, it was a whole new level for those guys, I thought.
Yeah.
Damn it, now I got to go out and get that on vinyl. It's one of the few things I don't have on vinyl these days. Well, Brett, I definitely want to thank you for joining us here on All Over the Place. And folks, make sure you're checking out their new single, Downsider, from A Heavy Quiet. And also head over to Facebook and Instagram, and they're at A Heavy Quiet and at heavyquiet.com. You guys don't have band in there. You're just keeping it easy, just A Heavy Quiet.
Yes, I think I think the Facebook might be A Heavy Quiet band, but I honestly can't remember. Just search A Heavy Quiet, you'll find
Just
it.
search A Heavy Quiet, exactly. So, and Brett Ditgen, thank you again so much for joining us here on All Over the Place. And folks, we will be back really soon here. Until then, take care.
Appreciate it.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.